Hello everyone and welcome to my Y&R Insider 24 update channel. Audra's downfall looms, Nate tempted by true love. According to the Young and the Restless spoilers, Zuleika Silva's Audra Charles is unable to recognize the true issue. She has lost Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, not because of how he has responded to her numerous self-centered choices. In contrast to Audra's behavior since arriving in Genoa City, Wisconsin, impulse control is a learned skill that mature adults possess. Viewers recall that Tucker McCall, Trevor St. John, was the reason they knew her. Choosing to break free from him appeared to be a positive step because their connection was dysfunctional, and he never loved her. That's what made her connection with Nate hopeful. Dominic's character, in contrast to Tucker, was devoted to Audra and desired a future with her. Tucker McCall was a vehicle. Audra met Tucker when she was in school. He paid for her education and made her his protégé. The audience learned that their relationship went well beyond business, with Audra serving as a replacement for Ashley Abbott, Eileen Davidson, during those years when St. John's character was off-screen and hadn't yet reconciled with his one true love. A phrase rather than a compound word is self-restraint. Similar to Audra, Tucker lacked self-control. While he arguably didn't serve as a fully negative influence, his transactional view of the world was not an example that helped an impressionable Audra grow. Nate Hastings saw beyond the surface. Audra would undoubtedly have many choices in life. She's smart and driven. Her physical appeal is also intense. Victor Newman, played by Eric Braeden, attempted to take advantage of Audra's knowledge that she has an effect on men. But Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, passed Victor's multi-level test. Audra's beauty captivated Nate. He also fell in love with the human being inside. Her backstory is compelling and is one that she rarely shares. Other than Tucker, only Nate came to see Audra as a whole person. Audra hasn't been able to forget about Kyle, despite Nate's genuine offer of his heart. That begs an obvious question. Is Kyle Abbott the man of her dreams? Due to the dynamic that exists between Kyle and Audra, the response of maybe is not a sneaky one. They were first forced together at Glissade, when neither sought to do so. Kyle found her to be attractive, but surely didn't consider Audra to be soulmate material. Tension continues because of their shared stubborn personality trait and romantic experience of getting what they want. They also share a reckless, competitive streak that no one has been able to dissuade. As readers noticed, Claire Newman's, Hayley Erin, name hasn't been mentioned until now. That was intended because Kyle often puts her out of his mind while focusing on something else. However, Audra successfully distracted him. In the upcoming episodes, Claire will use Holden Novak, portrayed by Nathan Owens, as a distraction to get away from Kyle. Audra and Kyle will be left on their own because Nate pulled himself out of the game. Whether they turn to each other is worth the watch. This site is a leading source for everything linked to the Young and the Restless. News and spoilers for Y&R will be posted here frequently. Together, Tessa and Daniel leave the city, and Phyllis attends Citizen Kane schools. The Young and the Restless, Y&R, spoilers for Monday, September 29 indicate that Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, receives huge news. Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks, confides in Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, and Citizen Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, twirls his proverbial mustache. First up is the choo-choo train Kane. He needs to come up with a new strategy for dealing with Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, after firing Michael Baldwin, Christian LeBlanc. Might Phyllis be the one to step up from his rapidly dwindling team? Definitely maybe. The eager beaver Phyllis should be pleased with Michael's dismissal, and during the week of September 29 to October 3 Kane gives her some updates. Phyllis could argue that she should be the one to deal with Billy and not hire someone else. But time is of the essence for Kane. He has to stay on his toes to keep track of foes Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, and Victor Newman. Kane may decide to play Victor and Jack against each other when he learns that Victor and Jack are conspiring against him. We need a scorecard to keep up with all of these machinations. Kane stirs the kettle. Sharon meets with Tessa, her DIL, in the interim. At some point Mariah Copeland, Cameron Grimes, told her wife that she tried to kill someone on an out-of-town business trip. Thus, Tessa seems poised to tell Sharon about her plan to inspect the hotel where this allegedly took place. Tessa is determined to get her marriage and family back on track, despite Sharon's caution. Besides, Mariah isn't doing such a good job of helping herself these days. Surprisingly, Tessa won't be the only one conducting her investigation. Daniel Romalotti, Michael Graziardi, is going with her. Roo-row. Messa are a mess. How will Sharon feel about this? Is her mom intuition telling her that Daniel could pose a threat to Messa's marriage? According to the most recent spoilers for The Young and the Restless, Sharon gives Tessa some advice that she might or might not agree with. It would appear that Tessa is bound and determined to figure out what's causing the chaos in her life, and Daniel will be a big part of her journey. What do you think of Tessa and Daniel maybe growing closer? Be sure to catch up on everything happening with The Young and the Restless right now. Come back here often for the hottest Y&R updates, news, and spoilers. Get comfortable and gain access to the best soap intel on the web. Nate is tempted by true love as Audra's downfall draws near. Audra Charles, Zuleika Silva, finds herself right in the middle of one of these tangled webs, which The Young and the Restless has always excelled at weaving stories that examine the personal flaws of its characters while also driving larger family rivalries and romantic entanglements. Her trajectory since arriving in Genoa City has been marked by bold ambition, sharp intellect, and unapologetic sensuality. Yet those very traits, when paired with her lack of impulse control and her tendency to prioritize self-interest above emotional commitment, have become the seeds of her undoing. Audra's demise is looming not because Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, changed or betrayed her suddenly, but rather because she consistently ignored the warning signs that her careless decision-making would catch up with her. Nate, unlike Tucker McCall, Trevor St. John, in front of him represented a genuine chance at love, growth, and stability. He looked past Audra's sharp edges and saw the vulnerable, intelligent, wounded woman beneath the armor. Unfortunately, Audra's inability to fully reciprocate, her distractions with Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, and her addiction to the thrill of conquest have combined to sabotage her best chance at lasting happiness. Audra's ties to Tucker were immediately questioned when she first appeared. She was mentored by Tucker, Tucker paid for her education, and Tucker made her a business and manipulation expert. Their relationship blurred the lines between professional and personal, with Audra stepping into a quasi-Ashley Abbott replacement role during Tucker's off-screen years. Tucker didn't provide her with emotional security, nor did he nurture her better instincts. If anything, he reinforced her transactional worldview. To Tucker, people are assets to be leveraged, and Audra absorbed this philosophy wholesale. For years, she believed that attaching herself to powerful men was a survival mechanism, a way of staying ahead in a world where women often had to fight twice as hard for recognition. But rather than empowering her to find her own identity, Tucker's influence conditioned her to manipulate, control, and seduce rather than to trust, commit, and love. She seemed to be moving in the right direction when she broke up with Tucker, but she never completely let go of his mark. That's where Nate Hastings enters the picture. Nate was everything Tucker wasn't: calm, steady, steadfast even when tempted to take shortcuts, and emotionally intelligent in ways Audra hadn't experienced before. Nate was able to empathize with Audra's weaknesses by seeing through her carefully constructed exterior. Unlike many of the men in Genoa City who were dazzled by Audra's beauty but uninterested in her depth, Nate listened, cared, and imagined a future with her. He didn't ignore her flaws, but he thought he could be the partner who helped her stay grounded while still letting her ambition flourish. It worked for a while. Audra softened in front of Nate, revealing glimpses of the woman she could be if she truly prioritized love over strategy. But those moments were fleeting, because Audra couldn't silence the other part of her nature, the restless desire for more, the reckless pursuit of attention, and the dangerous allure of forbidden temptations. Kyle Abbott's presence in her life epitomizes this conflict. Kyle and Audra weren't supposed to become involved. Circumstances forced them together at Glissade, and what should have been nothing more than an opportunistic dalliance evolved into a pattern of attraction, distraction, and competitive energy. Both Audra and Kyle were never soulmates, but their temperamental similarities, stupidity, recklessness, entitlement, and a shared thrill in defying expectations, created a combustible chemistry. While neither is ready to fully commit, They can't resist coming back to one another when they're bored or vulnerable. Kyle, in Audra's eyes, stands for the chaos she claims to want to escape but keeps choosing instead. For Nate, this was the final straw. A man who had already struggled with his own moral lapses in the past refused to stay in a relationship where he felt like a placeholder while his partner's eyes wandered elsewhere. Audra must make a crucial decision as she confronts Nate's deteriorating relationship. Is she continuing her pattern of manipulation by clinging to Kyle as a source of both distraction and validation? Or does she take the difficult but essential step of looking within herself, realizing that she has been her own worst enemy, and attempting to re-establish her relationship with Nate? Although Audra's default has always been self-destruction, the audience is sufficiently familiar with her to speculate on her future. There is also room for optimism. Soaps thrive on redemption arcs, and Audra, for all her flaws, is too fascinating a character to be written into a permanent corner. Her downfall may not be the end but the beginning of a more layered evolution, provided she can finally learn the lessons that Tucker, Nate, and Kyle have all tried, intentionally or otherwise, to teach her. Meanwhile, Nate himself stands at a crossroads. He is forced to reconcile what he wants out of life with what he is tempted by the possibility of true love elsewhere. Nate has tried to live up to others' expectations for years, first as a doctor, then as a businessman, then as a partner. His entanglement with Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, showed how easily he could be drawn into power games, but with Audra, he thought he had found a partner who shared his ambition without corrupting his soul. Now that he has been let down once more, he finds it increasingly tempting to seek love outside of the chaos. Viewers will be watching closely to see if Nate chooses solitude, reconciliation, or a surprising new romance. The consequences of Audra's choices extend far beyond her personal love life. Audra's inability to anchor herself is beginning to weaken alliances that she once believed would guarantee her long-term success in Genoa City, an ecosystem where every decision has an impact on business, romance, and family drama. Her pattern of burning bridges is eerily reminiscent of other ambitious women who came before her: Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, Hilary Curtis, Michelle Morgan, and even Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters. Audra, on the other hand, hasn't earned enough loyalty to prevent her from falling, unlike them. She is still apprehensive about the fact that building unshakable trust with the right people is more important than clever manipulation when it comes to gaining power in Genoa City. Take Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, for instance. Victor initially tried to exploit Audra's effect on men, seeing her as a useful pawn in his larger strategic games. Audra, on the other hand, did not have the patience or restraint to play by Victor's rules, unlike some of his previous protégés. He thrives on loyalty and discipline, two characteristics that Audra rarely exhibits. The result is that Victor may soon view her not as an asset but as a liability, someone who can't be controlled and therefore must be neutralized. Victor's disapproval is practically a death sentence for advancement in Genoa City. Once he decides you're not worth the trouble, the doors to influence slam shut. Audra's downfall might therefore be accelerated not just by her romantic entanglements but by her inability to keep Victor on her side. Audra's unraveling is observed by Jack Abbott, played by Peter Bergman, and Tucker McCall, two other powerful characters, with varying degrees of amusement and strategy. Jack, who has always tried to temper his family's chaos while also outmaneuvering Victor, likely sees Audra as a cautionary tale for his son Kyle. He recognizes Audra's ability to amplify Kyle's reckless tendencies and is aware of them. Jack may even intervene to pull Kyle back into the Abbott fold, reminding him that his legacy requires stability, not indulgence in destructive relationships. If Kyle resents Jack for underestimating his independence, this could increase tension between the father and son. However, Tucker will never truly be done with Audra. Tucker's ego thrives on the knowledge that his former protégé continues to collapse even though he claims to have moved on. He may swoop back in if he detects weakness, either to reclaim her as an ally or to manipulate her downfall in his favor. Nate is attempting to redefine himself in this context. His journey is comparable to that of numerous Genoa City men who struggle with ambition and authenticity. Nate, like Jason Thompson's Billy Abbott, has wrestled with issues of identity, morality, and purpose. Unlike Billy, however, Nate doesn't indulge in endless cycles of immaturity. He craves growth, even when he falters. He is such a compelling character because of that. His temptation to seek true love elsewhere isn't a betrayal of Audra but a testament to his refusal to settle for less than genuine connection. The primary concern is who might assume that position. Some fans speculate that Nate could circle back to Elena Dawson, Brittany Sarpy, the woman he hurt but perhaps never fully stopped loving. Others believe that he could develop a surprising bond with Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, a character who has long served as a source of guidance and support for the lost souls of Genoa City. Whatever the circumstance, Audra's demise serves as the impetus for Nate to begin a new chapter. Intriguing connections are made between Audra's chaos and the other storylines, shifting the focus. Playing corporate chess against Victor and Jack, Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, has re-emerged as an independent con artist. Christian LeBlanc's dismissal of Michael Baldwin and reliance on Phyllis Summers suggest that he is willing to surround himself with brilliant and unpredictable individuals. Phyllis, ever the eager beaver, thrives on being underestimated and is desperate to prove she still matters. Aligning with Kane gives her a new playground, but it also puts her at risk of being scapegoated if things go sideways. Their alliance, however temporary, has the potential to ignite fresh rivalries with both the Abbotts and the Newmans, pulling the canvas into even more dramatic showdowns. A further personal ripple is created when Daniel Romalotti, Michael Graziardi, and Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks, travel together to another city. Tessa's marriage to Mariah, Cameron Grimes, is on shaky ground, and Daniel's presence in her investigation of past trauma threatens to blur the lines between friendship and something more. Tessa is being warned of the dangers of emotional entanglement at a time when her marriage is already in danger by Sharon's maternal instincts. This subplot mirrors the Audra-Nate-Kyle triangle in interesting ways. Both highlight how distraction and temptation can undermine otherwise solid relationships. Tessa may be more self-aware than Audra. She wants to fix her marriage, even if her methods are questionable. This is the difference. In this developing drama, Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, and Claire Newman, Hayley Erin, are also improbable characters. Claire's struggle to move past Kyle reflects the theme of distraction and misdirected longing that threads through many of the current storylines. Her potential pairing with Holden could either liberate her from Kyle's orbit or draw her into new complications that intersect with Audra's ambitions. When Audra tries to reaffirm her claim, Kyle might suddenly realize what he lost when Claire finds happiness with Holden. This circular dynamic keeps the tension alive and ensures that no relationship in Genoa City remains stable for long. Thematically, these overlapping arcs highlight a central truth of the young and the restless. Characters rarely fail because of external forces alone. More often, they sabotage themselves through hubris, impulsivity, and an inability to learn from past mistakes. Audra is a prime example, but she is hardly alone. Kane, Phyllis, Kyle, and even Tessa are all standing at similar crossroads, each forced to reckon with the difference between ambition and fulfillment, lust and love, strategy and sincerity. Nate, on the other hand, stands for the possibility of ending the cycle. His temptation to pursue true love rather than temporary gratification could inspire others, or it could leave him isolated in a town that thrives on chaos. As these stories unfold, viewers are reminded why the young and the restless has endured for decades. Its characters are flawed yet fascinating, ambitious yet vulnerable, destructive yet redeemable. Audra's looming downfall is just one piece of a much larger puzzle, but it encapsulates the essence of the show, the human struggle to balance desire with responsibility, ambition with heart, and control with trust. Whether she rises from the ashes or continues spiraling downward, Audra's journey will leave an indelible mark on Genoa City, and Nate's next move may redefine what true love looks like in a world where it often feels like the rarest commodity of all.